That night, the storm began earlier. Irina sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the dark, almost black clouds that filled the sky. The clouds moved slowly, like a giant sea creature, covering the last rays of the sun. Silence reigned around, even the birds were quiet, sensing the approaching storm. The first drops of rain tapped on the windows, as if someone outside was trying to get her attention. Irina shivered from the chill running down her spine and turned away from the window, hoping that tonight would be different, that she wouldn't hear her voice. But the voice came. "Come out," it whispered, barely audible amidst the sound of the rain. Irina closed her eyes, hoping it was just her imagination, but the voice grew louder. It was soft and enveloping like silk, but there was steel hidden within it. The voice seemed so real that Irina could swear its owner was standing right behind her. "Come out." Play in the wind, the voice coiled like a snake, tightening into a ring. Irina pressed her hands to her ears, trying to block out the sound, but it seeped inside, through her skin, through her bones. Every word carried a call, a promise of liberation. "I won't come out," she whispered, knowing her words were lost in the noise of the rain. "Feel the rain," the voice persisted, like a seductive lover, inviting Irina to step outside. She turned away from the window and took a step back. Fear gripped her from head to toe. A battle was unfolding inside her. Part of her wanted to obey that voice, to go outside and feel the freedom it promised. But another part knew it was a trap. Her eyes fell on the windows, covered by blinds, yet she could still feel the yellow eyes burning behind them. She knew that as soon as she opened the curtains. When Irina woke up that day, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Sunlight poured through the curtains like honey, wrapping the room in a warm golden glow. It seemed like nothing could go wrong, but deep down she felt a growing unease, a premonition of something inevitable. The morning was quiet, except for the steady hum of the air conditioner and occasional sounds from the street. The city lived its usual life, and Irina was preparing for a new day, trying not to pay attention to fleeting flashes of anxiety. She dressed quickly, grabbed her bag, and left the house, barely making her bed. Outside, the heat was unbearable. The air was thick and humid, like in a steam room, making it hard to breathe. It felt tangible, as if you could touch it like dense fabric. Irina walked along the sidewalk, doing her best to ignore the sweat trickling down her back. She knew everything would change by evening. The past few weeks had followed the same pattern. During the day, the heat intensified, the sky remained cloudless, but towards evening, as if by magic, clouds appeared on the horizon. At first they were light and barely noticeable, but soon turned into a dense wall looming over the city. The downpour began suddenly, with heavy drops falling to the ground with a deafening thud, as if someone above was throwing a handful of gravel. The wind howled like a beast trying to break free, and Irina knew it was only a prelude. She tried to stay away from the window, close the curtains, and turn on the TV to drown out the noise. But it didn't help. The voice still found her. It hadn't come last night, and Irina hoped it was over, but deep down she knew it was just a pause. At work, everything went on as usual. Colleagues chatted, clients came and went, and Irina tried not to get distracted. But her thoughts kept returning to the voice, to what it said. Feel the rain, simple words, but there was a hidden threat in them, something more than just a call. As if the rain was not just water falling from the sky, but something alive, breathing, something that could take her into its arms and carry her away. Irina pondered, listening to the monotonous hum of the office, and suddenly realized she couldn't remember the last time she felt truly happy. Work, home, rare meetings with friends, it all blurred into one gray mass, leaving no room for joy. And now, amidst all this monotony, there was this voice bringing with it a sense of danger, but also something else, a sharp sense of life that she had long lost. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden ring of the phone. Irina started, snapping out of her thoughts, and picked up the receiver. It was her boss, reminding her of the upcoming meeting. She nodded quickly, trying to focus, but her thoughts were still drifting far away. In the evening, when the meeting ended, Irina hurried out of the office, feeling anxiety wash over her again. She walked down the street, trying not to look at the sky, but her eyes kept lifting up on their own. The clouds were already in place, ready to unleash on the city at any moment. Irina quickened her pace, trying to make it home before the storm started. But a cold gust of wind challenged her, forcing her to stop and look around. The air smelled of ozone, foretelling lightning, and Irina felt a shiver run through her body. She knew the voice was already near. At home, Irina closed all the windows and doors, lowered the blinds, and turned on the lights. She turned on the TV, hoping the noise would distract her, but it only heightened her sense of unease. Every sound seemed too loud, every rustle echoed in her head. She sat on the couch, crossing her legs and hugging herself, as if trying to hide from something invisible. A flash of lightning lit up the room, and immediately followed a peal of thunder, making Irina jump. The rain started suddenly, as always, with heavy, resounding blows against the roof and windows. It seemed like the house's walls were shaking from its impact, and Irina felt fear rising inside her like water in an overflowing cup. She closed her eyes, trying to push the thoughts away, but the voice was already there. It sounded right behind her, soft and enveloping like silk. "Come out," it whispered, caressing her ears. Irina opened her eyes, peering into the darkness of the room, but saw no one. The voice continued to speak, whispering in her ear like a lover. "Feel the rain. We can wash away your wounds completely." She knew it was just her imagination, that no one was really there, but the words seeped inside, leaving an icy trace. Irina stood up from the couch, slowly approached the window, and drew the curtains. Rain was lashing against the glass, as if trying to break through, and beyond it, amidst the streams of water, she saw a figure. It was a woman standing right under the window, her head tilted to the side. Her hair was wet, sticking to her face, and her eyes glowed with a strange yellow light. She was looking straight at Irina, smiling, and her lips were moving, saying words Irina couldn't make out. Her heart pounded in her chest, and Irina jumped back from the window, slamming the curtain shut. She knew it was impossible, that it was all just a figment of her imagination, but the fear was too real. She was gasping for breath, feeling panic engulfing her, and the voice sounded again, now louder, more insistent. "Open the door. Feel the rain. We can turn your sins to dust." Irina pressed her hands to her ears, trying to drown out the words, but they penetrated through her fingers like water through a sieve. She remembered how last night her neighbor, Peter, had mentioned hearing some strange noise, like someone whispering to him under the window. She had just laughed it off, attributing it to his imagination. But now she realized he was telling the truth. She had to do something. Find a way to stop this before she lost her mind. Irina ran to the phone, trying to recall the number of a friend who knew about these things, but her fingers trembled, and she couldn't dial the right number. The phone slipped from her hands, and she stared at it helplessly, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. The voice kept whispering, coaxing, luring her in, and Irina knew she couldn't hold out for long. She had to go out, she had to feel the rain. And then it would all be over. The door gave way surprisingly easily, as if it hadn't been locked for a long time. A cold wind hit her face, and Irina stepped outside, taking her first step into a puddle. The water was icy, burning, and she shivered, but didn't stop. The voice called to her, led her forward, and she walked without looking back. The woman stood in the middle of the yard, her face raised to the sky. Her eyes glowed like two small suns, and Irina felt the fear leave her, leaving emptiness behind. She took another step, feeling the rain washing over her, the water flowing over her skin, carrying away all worries and fears. "I knew you would come," the woman's voice was soft as silk, and Irina smiled, feeling peace fill her. Now everything was fine. Now she was home. The rain lashed harder. The wind howled, but Irina no longer felt cold. She stood in the rain, lifting her face to the sky, and laughed, knowing she had finally found what she had been looking for.